In this piano tutorial, we'll be learning the song My Help in the key of F major, and this song was requested through the comments section, so keep leaving them comments with any song requests, and I'll try to get to them as soon as I can, okay? Now, this song is a little bit more complex than your typical 5 or 4 chord song, right? It includes a lot of different harmonic concepts, but I'll try to go through the song very slowly. This video might take longer than expected, but hopefully you're able to bear with me and be able to learn these concepts and different chords and be able to apply them to other songs as well, okay? So this song starts off on the 1, right? Or technically starts off on the 6, but the first main chord is a 1 chord, right? I will lift up mine eyes to the hills. But before we get to that 1 chord, we play a 6-7-1 progression, which is very typical in gospel or in jazz, and it's used as a bridge from nothing to that 1, right? Instead of just simply playing a 1, we can play the melody accompanied by that 6-7-1 progression. So it sounds something like this. I will lift up mine eyes to the hills, right? And in this case, the 6 that I'm playing is technically more of a 4/6, right? It's a B flat over D, but I'm voicing it in a way that it maintains the melody up here. So I will. Then the 7 is more of a 5/7, right? A C, in this case, a C7 over E. And then we get to that 1 chord, which in this case I voice as a F major over F major add 2, okay? So will la da 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 da. And in this part of the song, what I like is that the F major does not just stay as an F. It actually changes a little bit of the chord quality. So instead of just staying on this F major add 2, in the part that says from whence cometh my help, we change it into an F major 9/13, okay? And in this case, this chord is simply just an a C major add 2 over an F major, and that gives us this different F sound, okay? So now from here, the next chord is a 4 chord, right? My help cometh from the Lord which made heaven and earth. So it goes from a 4 to a 2 to a 5. But let's try to dig in and learn some different passing chords that we can use, right? So we're on this 1 chord, from whence cometh my help. Here I'm using a very common passing chord to get from the 1 to the 4, which is basically just a 1/3, right? An F major over A, but I like voicing it sort of as an F sus2 over an A, and that actually comes from a drop 2 voicing, right? If we analyze this F sus2, or F add 2, sorry, and we take this A and drop it an octave, we get that different sounding, or that drop 2 voicing for F major add 2. So that's where I get this chord from, and we use it as a passing chord to get to the 4. So from whence cometh my help cometh from the Lord, and we get to this 4 chord, which I voice as an as a B flat major add 2, okay? Now from here, as I said before, we go to the 2, which is a G minor, but there's a chord that we can use as a passing chord before this G minor, and it comes from that secondary dominant theory, right? When we want a passing chord, one of the most common or easiest way to get one is by going to the 5 of the destination chord, right? So instead of going directly from B flat to G, we go from B flat to the 5 of G, which is D, okay? So we go B flat, D, and then G, okay? And it sounds something like this. I'll explain the voicings that I'm using. So Here it comes. Okay, so I played a 4. My help comes from the Lord. And here we're playing a 6 chord, right? That D, but I'm voicing it sort of as a D7 sharp 5 chord, okay? So my help cometh from the Lord. To the 2, which is simply just a G minor 7. The Lord which made heaven and earth. And then here for the 5 chord, I'm voicing it as a C sus4. Very simple. And from here, we're going back to that same 6-7-1 progression that we did before to get into the next verse, okay? So da 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 da, and it's the same chords. Now here is where the song sort of pivots, right? We in this first section we were playing like major type of sounds, but now we're going to get into that minor type of sound. And before we get into the minor sound, we're going to use a set of diminished chords, or a set of passing chords actually, that lead us into that 6, which is the first minor chord in this section, right? This section of the song goes, "Oh, the Lord is my keeper, the Lord is thy shade," right? We're on that 6 chord, but before we get there, there's a couple of options that we can use. One of the most typical way of getting to the 6 is by playing a 7-3-6 progression, right? And as long as we maintain the melody, which goes, "Oh, the Lord," right? So we can play a 7, just an E half diminished, right? Or if you want to think about it in simpler terms, it's just a G minor over an E. So, oh, then a A7, right? Still maintaining the melody. We can even play it as an A7 flat 9, and then we get to the 6. Okay? So that's one of the options we have. Oh, the Lord is thy keeper. There's another one that we can do, which is going from the 4 to the 3 and then to the 6. And it sounds something like this. Oh, and something about this 4 also, it's that it's played as a dominant 4, right? So, oh, the Lord, right? Sort of a substitution for this E half diminished. And if we get into the theory a little bit behind it, why is the 4 substituting for the 7? It's sort of a tritone substitution, right? Instead of playing the E, we're playing the tritone of E, which is a B flat, which is in this case the 4. So instead of playing we can just play a, okay? So that's the second option, but the one that I use for this song is actually a set of diminished chords, right? And it sort of comes from that same 7-3-6, but usually when I play the 7-3-6 in this case, I would voice the 7 as an E, 7 flat 9, right? And if we analyze this chord, it's just an F diminished 7th over E. And then for the 3, I would play this voicing, which is an A7 flat 9, right? Or a G diminished 7 over A, and then we get to the 6. But instead of playing these bass notes, E, A, and D, what I do is I sort of play these chords as a drop 2 voicing. So I drop to 2 in this case, which is a B, right? The second highest note. And I do the same for this chord, bring it down an octave, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3 Now this chord right here is very different than your typical song, right? We're on the 6, but the 6 also changes that chord quality, and I really like the sound that it produces, right? Usually we can either play this, right? We can play a 6, where we go from the 6, right? And we go to the 3, and then back to the 6, right? Oh, the Lord is thy keeper, the Lord is thy shade. And in this case, the 3 is being voiced as an A7 sharp 5, or even as an A augmented, right? La da 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 da. And we're back to the 6. But there's another chord which isn't that typical, and it's known as a D minor major 7th, right? We're playing a major 7th, but we also have a minor D, right? It's a D minor with the major 7th, okay? But I voice it this way to maintain the melody, and it sounds like this. Okay, and for that second third D minor, I play a D minor 7, right? So we started off on this D minor, then a D minor major 7, and then a D minor 7, okay? So once again, da 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 da, right? And now in this part of the song, I really like because we're starting to go around the circle or cycle of fourths, right? We started off on the D minor. Now we're going to go to the 4th of D, which is a G, okay? But in this case, we play it as a G over B, right? And then we resolve to that G, so right, G7 over B, then a G major, and then we're going to the 4th, right? We're still following that circle. We're going to the 4th of G, which is a C, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. So da 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 da. But in this case, the C major, I think in the version by Donnie McClurkin, they don't just simply play a C major. They actually voice it as a major 9th, right? Something like this. And I like the sound that it produces. It's like a sweeter sound than just simply playing a C major. So now again, still following that circle of fourths, we're going to land on the 4th of C, which is an F. But before we get there, we play a passing chord, which actually comes from C, right? We have a C7, right? And instead of just going directly from C7 to F, we substitute using the tritone, right? We basically just play, instead of playing a C, we play an F sharp, which is the tritone of C, okay? And then from here, we land on that F. And from the F, again, a passing chord from from F over A, and we're back to the 4, okay? I'll play the whole thing, this whole section, so that you can have a better understanding of how it sounds, and I'll go very slowly. right? And we land on that B flat. So it was starting on the 6, la da la da 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 da. It goes to the G, la da 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 da. Then to the C, da 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 da, and then to the B flat. Okay. Now this part of the song, there's a movement that we include to restart the chorus, right? To get back to the 6. And remember that one of the typical ways to get to the 6 is by doing the 7-3-6. So once we land on this 4, on this B flat, we can play this to get back to that 7. And all I did here was play drop 2 voicings starting on the B flat, so then an F over A, then a G minor, then an F, and then we're here on that E half diminished. Okay, so da 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 da, and then we play the 3, and then we're back to the 6. Da 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 da. And once we get to that B flat is where the progression changes a little bit, right? Because we're not going to repeat it. We're not going back to that 7-3-6. Instead of going to that 7, we're going to go to this chord right here, which is a G half diminished, right? Or technically just a B flat minor over G, which we use sort of as a passing chord. It's very typical in gospel music where we play this chord to go to the 1 over the 5, right? So we play he shall preserve thy soul even forevermore. My help. And here we're playing a 1 over 5. Then we play a 6 chord, my help, and then we're back to this 2, right? This G half diminished, my help, and then we get to the 6, right? We used a passing chord again, this C, the C sharp diminished 7th to get to the 6. So my help, my help, my help. Passing chord 6, all of my help. And again, this progression very common in gospel music. We went from the 6 to the 2, so we played a 6, then we played a 5 over 7, or we can play it as an E diminished 7th, right? We can play a 6, E diminished 7th, F sharp diminished 7th, and then we get to this 2. So, or that's how we get to the 2. All of my help. 3, right? F over 3 or 1 over 3. All of my help cometh. Here we're playing a 4 in this voicing to maintain the melody. Then we play this chord right here, which is used as a passing chord before the 5, right? B half diminished, then the 5 chord, which is a C, and then we're back to the 1. And that's basically the whole song. So that section again. Okay, now Now what I want to do, like always, is play the whole song uninterrupted. That way you have a better idea of how it sounds. It might change a little bit as I taught it, right? This section is a little bit more improvised, but I'll include a link to a MIDI file if you want to help out the channel, if you want to help support it. You can purchase that MIDI file and study it at your own pace, okay?